What do we got here? This looks vintage.
This one is 1999. Very Chicago, very badass.
Oh,
And as you know, I'm a Harley guy.
yeah.
This is a Jeff Hamilton 1999 Chicago Harley Davidson with the smoke spelling out Chicago. Now, the thing I appreciate about the work Jeff does is everything on here is hand cut, hand sewn. I mean, even down to these tiny letters.
Yeah.
This jacket's really special to me. One, because I, again, love Harleys. I actually have 3 of these jackets, and I'm not letting them go. This one, 50 Cent borrowed from me
Really?
for his show at the United Center.
No shit.
So if you go on Google, look up 50 Cent United Center, that would have been the 2023 show. He came out wearing this.
Wow.
So
We didn't even get into our love of riding motorcycles on the pod, but check this out, guys. A little behind the scenes action.
I wore this last week into Chi-Town Harley in Tinley Park, and they jaws just dropped. And they're like, we got to do this again.
Look at
So I'm
this
like,
thing.
maybe we can bring it back, retro it, and just do Chi-Town instead of Chicago.
Yeah, that would be dope.
Yeah.
Dude, this is a great piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on the front, you got the Chicago with the skyline. Again, just like the small details. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's unique.
And then my favorite, the one that started the friendship with me and Jeff, the 1998 Bulls championship
Look
jacket.
at this jacket.
I mean, come on. So you can see as a 13-year-old seeing photos of Mike
Yeah.
wearing this.
This is just nostalgia.
Hand cut, hand sewn, lambskin, just crazy details.
Doesn't your buddy Marco have a jacket like this?
He's got another Bulls design that I have as well. That's awesome. Just both showstoppers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love these.
So
Thanks for bringing these in.
of course, repeat, three-peat.
Hell yeah, baby.
Go Bulls.
Welcome back to the Scorpion S podcast. Today we're on a new set, which I absolutely love. Thanks for the recommendation, Tom. Today I have a very special guest, as usual. I always say that. AJ Weir, he's a vice president at Jeff Hamilton, Soho House committee member, and also Blue Island director of community development. AJ, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Did you say this was a podcast?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought I thought it was odd we were sitting here with microphones. I thought we were just hanging out.
When you do this so much, you just forget that the production's there, and it's like a natural conversation with a friend, right?
Hey, that's what I'm here for. I appreciate the invite, but more so the opportunity to just kick back, good excuse to hang out.
Hell yeah. So do you remember how you heard about the Scorpion Nest in the first place?
I had a gentleman, reach out to me that had an extra spot for one of the nights, and I happily accepted. And it was definitely a blessing to be able to go and sit at the table with a lot of like-minded individuals, and have built a lot of really cool friendships from it, have experienced a lot of great cigars, experienced a lot of really nice different liquors and bourbons and, all the things I enjoy. And to be able to sit there and have just some very beneficial, fruitful conversations with people and build those friendships has been great.
Yeah, I think that whole era of the Scorpion Nest was kind of stage 2 of our growth, and the amount of meaningful conversations and new relationships that came out of it still kind of impressed me, because once you get the right people in the room, magic can happen, right?
It's very organic.
Yeah, very organic. So I'm very excited that you decided to come and join the group, and now we've had multiple networking events down your way in Blue Island, even at your house, for some very intimate and special networking. So,
which I'm still getting a lot of questions about my house. People are saying, when's the next one?
I got the cigars ready, so you just let me know.
Yeah, and I have some other individuals too. I actually had a gentleman last night. They're opening a really cool bocce facility kind of on the west side of the city, and even he was like, "Oh, we got to get that Scorpion Nest over to our place." So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into the cigars and the fun stuff later in the pod, I'm sure. But I think the big thing people want to know is that How do you get into Jeff Hamilton? Because this brand is so iconic, and kind of like how I got into jewelry. Like usually it's like unless you have family that grew up or some sort of connection in the industry, like it's hard to break into. And for a guy like you, I mean, you kind of just followed your passions and got into it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely, I believe, a godsend, very organic. So I met Jeff in Vegas, and the way that came about is it was my wife's birthday weekend coming up, and she had never been to Vegas. She was intrigued by it, but had never been.
Yeah.
And I heard that there was SneakerCon coming to Vegas, and I said, hey, babe, it's birthday weekend. We love sneakers. We've both been into sneakers for a long time. Like, it's a great opportunity to get down there, celebrate your birthday, and check out some shoes. And so we scheduled a trip. Probably about 3 days before we were leaving for the trip, I noticed on Instagram that Jeff was going to be doing a meet and greet at the sneaker store, Urban Necessities, down there in Vegas. And I was like, oh, shoot. Now, I've known about Jeff since I was probably about 13.
Okay, so you've been following the brand for a while.
Yeah, ever since I saw Michael Jordan in the 1998 championship jacket in there with Scotty, jacket over his shoulder, I'm like, what is that? Because I was always very attracted to loud, colorful, unique things, and it really caught my attention. And I saw he was going to be there, and I had one of his jackets hanging in my closet, so I brought it with to Vegas, which bringing a jacket to Vegas, not something you typically need to do. And it was very hot that day. It's Vegas in July, so I'm carrying around a jacket, and people were probably like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, he's wearing shorts. And but yeah, went to the event and went up, introduced myself to Jeff, and he saw the jacket, and he goes, yep, that's mine.
Yep.
Signed it for me. And we started a conversation because, as you know, I like to rep Chicago as much as I can.
Yeah.
So he asked me if I was from here, and I told him, yeah, born and raised Southside, Blue Island. And he lit up like a kid. He's sharing all the stories of the Bulls dynasty and his time with the team. And I told him, I said, that 1998 jacket, I need that.
Yes.
And he goes, I know, beautiful jacket. He's like, I'm not really making them right now. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. And he's like, you know what? Let's continue this conversation at SneakerCon this weekend.
Nice.
So that's how I initially met Jeff. And my wife and I went to SneakerCon. He had a beautiful booth there, a bunch of the jackets. And long story short, we started talking again. He's like, you really love that jacket. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, it would mean a lot if we could work on one.
Yeah.
And he goes, I tell you what. Send me this much, and we'll get it going.
Wow.
So that was kind of the start of the friendship through business. And fast forward about a month, I was working with Cars.com at the time, and I was out in LA for work, which is where Jeff is based and where the studio is. And I had called him and said, hey, do you happen to be around the studio? I'd love to stop by, say hi, kick it. He's like, yeah, come on over and come see the progress on your jacket. And we met up at the studio, hung out for a while. Jeff goes, oh, crap. I'm like, what's up? He's like, my car is getting maintenance at the dealership. I completely forgot, and I got to get over there soon. I'm like, I got you.
Yeah.
So he just hopped in my rental car. He was taking some business calls, and I was taking him to the dealership, and I couldn't help but overhear some of his conversations, so it intrigued me. I started asking him some questions, and I think he got intrigued on just knowing more about my background just in business.
Yeah, like why are you asking me about these questions?
Yeah, efficiencies, team development, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I know we'll probably get more into what I did at Cars.com, but it turned out it was what I was bringing up was very relative to his world as well. And I know we're doing kind of cliff notes here, but eventually light bulb kind of went off that we should probably be working together.
So did you like dream of working for Jeff Hamilton, or this is just an organic manifestation of you being you, him being him?
No thought once of working with Jeff. It was just meeting a person I've known about for years, admired their work, started building a friendship, and it just organically kind of aligning.
I think that passion's contagious and people can kind of like detect it, right? Like when you're truly passionate about something, you're not blowing smoke up somebody's butt. Like you're not lying about anything. It's like, no, oh, this guy detected these little details, or like I can tell that he's been loving this since 1998 because he won't stop asking me about this jacket, right? It's like, all right, well, I know he's very truthful and honest about his passion about it. Now, just the fact that you are who you are and you're out of no expectation for anything else, offering to drive him to the mechanic or, hey, let me come out and let me just see you. That goes a long way for if you're one of those people that just give without an expectation of receiving.
Yeah.
People see that, and those are the people that you want to align with because it's like, I can trust this person.
Yeah.
And that opens the door to a lot of opportunities.
And I think that's probably one of the reasons that door was open, because I wasn't looking for anything.
Yeah.
I just wanted a dang jacket like that he was working on. And our personalities gelled really well. And Jeff is one of the most kind-hearted, like generous, just really just cool, unique individuals. So just being able to just sit at his desk and just start building that friendship was, very invaluable to me.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. So as an outsider looking in, you see all these celebrities out there, big fashion designers, NBA stars, rap stars and stuff. And, it seems like a insurmountable task to meet these people sometimes, or even to just establish a relationship with these people. But the fact that you simply were just being you authentically, following your passion, and you have the skill set that he needed at the time, and like all of a sudden you're working hand in hand with this amazing fashion designer. It's kind of baffling. Like it just went from zero to superstar status so quickly.
Yeah, it being at cars.com for 10 and a half years leading up to that point of when I got a FaceTime from Jeff at my friend's brewery in Blue Island saying, something's there. I think we need to figure out how to work together. I tell people all the time, you have to listen to your discernment. Discernment's all we have. And you can get comfortable. I was very comfortable at cars.com.
Yeah.
Cars.com was a blessing, and I know we'll get into that more, but I was not passionate about cars by any means.
Yeah.
I was passionate about my team. I was passionate about the relationships I built. I was passionate about the fact that they trusted me and helped grow my career into a really respected role. But there was something missing. And to be able to kind of come back full circle to a passion, creative outlet, because I used to work in pro sports. I used to work with the NBA, the WNBA, and everything, and D1 collegiate sports coming out of college. So it was cool to be able to get back into that, but not work with a team.
Yeah.
Be able to work with any team I want, work within the music industry, work with brands. It's been, once that discernment hits, like, hey, there's this, you got to jump on this opportunity. You just got to listen to that.
Sure. So let's give the viewers and listeners just a little bit of background before you get to Jeff. So you go to college, you get out of college. What'd you study?
Business management.
Business management. And then for like the next 10 years or so out of college, what were you kind of doing in corporate?
So what's cool is I actually got probably some of the best experience ever while I was still in college.
Okay.
So I was really good friends with somebody on the women's basketball team, and she was like, hey, there's a opportunity to be a manager on the women's team. You should go and talk to the coach or director of operations. And I stumbled into the athletics department and saw a gentleman, the first office door I saw, and it turned out to be the director of operations for the men's team.
Okay.
And I said, hey, I was here. I heard about an opportunity to be a manager on the team. And he goes, well, that's funny because I'm actually looking for a manager. I'm like, all right. So we sat down, and again, just a really organic conversation, and they offered it to me on the spot.
So you went in looking for the women's team position, but ended up on the men's team?
Yes.
And was the women's team upset that you didn't end up taking that job?
I don't even think, I don't think the staff on the women's team necessarily knew. I think she was a little disappointed, like, oh, I thought, I would be able to hang out more and travel the country and all this stuff. But If doors open, the right doors open at the right times,
Right.
and very literally. And that was an invaluable start because for 3 years while going to college, I was getting experience in operations
Sure.
and traveling all over the country and getting to learn how to manage a lot of different personalities and being able to learn from some iconic coaches such as Eddie Sutton from Oklahoma State because
Nice.
I was working with his son,
Yeah.
Scott's son, at the time, just a phenomenal human being. And so I was fortunate enough to start getting really valuable education before I even left university.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you take your sports passion, your business degree, your experience on the road, and your toes dipped into operations, and then you graduate.
Yeah.
What do you do next?
I graduate. I was given an opportunity to go work at the time with the Tulsa 66ers, which was the D League of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay.
So I was able, and so I didn't clearly define what school I was going to. I was going to Oral Roberts University at the time in Tulsa. So by my 3 years working with Oral Roberts University men's basketball, I easily was able to make connections within the pro level.
Yeah.
So I was given the opportunity to work on the sales and marketing front with the Tulsa 66ers, which then also got me connected with the Oklahoma City Thunder,
Yep.
being able to kind of work in cohesiveness and synergy there with their teams, learned a lot. Then shortly after that, we had gotten word that the Detroit Shock were going to be moving to Tulsa, becoming the Tulsa Shock. So I end up getting a call from an individual saying, hey, we would love if you could help us kind of grow and build this franchise
Yeah.
from scratch. Everything was kind of at ground level at the time. Opportunities in sports like that don't come around every single day. So I happily interviewed, came in, met with everybody, felt really good about it, and had the opportunity to basically see a franchise built from the ground up with the Tulsa Shock.
Yeah. So now not only do you have a couple years going through the system, now you're put in this like entrepreneurial role almost where you've got the experience, you have the trust of the organization, and then now they're saying, you got to build this from the ground up. Did you have like leeway to make decisions that you needed to make, or were you always
yeah.
reporting to the top? Like,
I was extremely supported. The president, Steve Swatoa, who brilliant mind, a lot of experience at the pro level in basketball and hockey, became a really good friend. To this day is still a very good friend.
awesome.
And for me to be able to go into his office and say, I have a crazy idea, or this is a little fresh, or hey, we have this nonprofit, and I know the league kind of has their way of doing these nights and bringing awareness, but like, what if we did it a little bit differently?
Yeah.
Full support.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, for as long as I've known you, I know that you're not only an idea guy, but you also know how to execute too. So that probably that refreshing, like new air that you bring about you helped you not only win that position, but also be successful in building that new organization because, the stale ideas that, everyone knows and kind of goes through the motions on, maybe it works, but like, you always need something new. You need something exciting, especially in sports where it's hospitality, it's excitement, it's fandom, it's, competition. You got to keep that energy up like all year round.
Yeah. And, to that point, executing on things and having kind of gut feeling on things, at this point, I had already been in Tulsa for probably about 7 years. So I knew it really well. I knew it more than most everybody else coming in from the league because, the WNBA, you're working with all the NBA executives. They're coming in with recommendations on ticket sales and marketing and what they're used to, which is fine. And I learned a lot and brilliant minds. But there were certain things where when they were saying, hey, let's try this approach or this method in growing ticket sales or fandom loyalty, I'm like, that won't work in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Tulsa is not New York. Tulsa's not LA. Tulsa's not Chicago. It's a very specific market.
Yep.
And the fan base is very unique, and they need to be treated as such.
Market knowledge is key for success, and you had that.
Yeah, and the support of the president. to be able to activate on that.
Okay. So through this, what's your next jump?
So my next jump was somebody had reached out to me, heard about what I was doing in Tulsa from the Chicago Sky.
Okay.
And the Chicago Sky reached out to Mr. Swatoa, basically saying, hey, is it okay
Please, can
if
we
we have a
poach your
conversation with AJ because we'd love to bring him home?
Yeah.
And at the time, they were needing a lot of the growth that I was bringing to Tulsa, especially like group ticket sales, things like that. And so I had a conversation with them, and I knew I always wanted to get home. I didn't know when that would be. And, you know, I had been dating my wife, Shirley, now for a while, a few years, and we were kind of figuring out what were next steps, where we were going to go, where are we going to really ground ourselves. And we had a feeling it was going to be Chicago, but this was kind of that nice entrance back home with doing something I was already similarly doing in Tulsa.
It makes it a lot easier when you don't have to worry about so many different major life movements all at once, where it's like you weren't changing industries, you weren't looking for a job, you weren't looking for a house, and getting married and like all these things stacking up. It's like, all right, well, they want me. They're asking me to do the same thing that I'm doing. I'm familiar with the area because it's home. You know, kind of ease that transition back to where you're at currently.
Yeah, exactly. And to be able to get back home, be back by my folks, family, a lot of nieces and nephews, you know, I definitely jumped on an opportunity. I said, okay, my time, what I did in Tulsa, was a great few years, but it's time.
What made you leave the sports industry to go into corporate cars.com? Because that seems like kind of a blip in your trajectory here.
Yeah, it actually started with an opportunity with livingsocial.com. This would be kind of my introduction into the .com world. There was an opportunity that somebody brought to me to be the account executive for livingsocial.com for the south suburbs of Chicago. It was a huge market. I was very intrigued. I'm one of those people where I'll listen to any and all opportunities. I don't close the door on anything. I think it's foolish. I think it's very wise to listen to any opportunity that comes to the table. And you know, this was kind of that time of the Living Social, the Groupon boom. Like everybody was making their decisions at the time based on what that app said was available. And so I flew out to DC, had a conversation, and I had gotten selected for this role out of, they said it was over 1,000 resumes. So I took that as, this is probably a good next move. Like something's telling me I should probably do this.
Yeah.
And the general manager for Living Social at the time, wonderful, wonderful lady. She ended up leaving shortly after I started, which I thought was odd.
Yeah.
I wasn't really anticipating that. And I got a call from her and she said, hey, you know what? There's some changes happening that are going to be happening soon. And I just want to make you aware of those. And I would love to introduce you, though, to my friends at Classified Ventures, which was the parent company of Cars.com.
Okay.
So she actually, when she was already away from livingsocial.com, was like, we built a good relationship. I'm kind of looking out for you here.
Yeah.
Made that introduction. And when I walked into the Cars.com offices and just started meeting different people and seeing the culture and just like, wow, people are really excited to be at work.
That's cool.
Here. And, you know, the tech world was always very intriguing to me. And, I built a couple good relationships there, and they asked me to come join their team.
Yeah, we had a couple business fraternity brothers that worked at cars.com, so familiar with a few folks at the organization, and never heard anything bad about the company. They seemed pretty legit. But as with all corporate jobs, you know, you kind of get tired of doing the same thing day in and day out, and the red tape and all that. I'm imagining.
At the end of the day, it's you know, corporate is for some people.
Sure.
And I was blessed to see both sides and be a part of both sides of cars, private and public. And I had a lot of success on both sides, but at some point you got to listen to your discernment.
Yeah.
And I felt that I really needed to listen to that and start investing more in myself and what I was passionate about, and really just not waste time, because it wasn't a waste by any means. Cars.com was a blessing. And I built wonderful teams there, and to the point that when it was my last day and I was departing, I had a meeting with my team, and there were some teary eyes there from everybody.
Yeah.
Because we built something so much bigger than just being coworkers.
I think you and I connect on kind of that leadership aspect, because I remember back to my last unit when I was in the service, and it was a smaller unit. We had maybe 30, 40 people, and just being able to build a community and an environment where people feel like they're able and allowed to do their job, which is what they want to do, and be able to give feedback and receive feedback. It just makes the working environment so much more fulfilling when you can foster that community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love that. And you get to bring those leadership capabilities and experiences with you to wherever you go, because people management's not for everybody either.
Yeah.
It takes a certain person to actually care about who they're working with. Not, some managers are do what I say because I tell you to. Other people are, we're a team. We all have a role. Let's collaborate. And I feel like that's very much your style.
That's what people told me they appreciated about me the most was, I know some people are going to laugh when I say this, but control your controllables. That was probably one of the biggest phrases I would say and would told people to remember. And, that we weren't doing surgery here.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's digital marketing. And the amount of stress sometimes people would have if there was a phone call that didn't go the way they wanted, or the anxiety of getting on a phone call with an individual that's maybe a tough sell or just a tough client in general. And I would remind everybody, look, at the end of the day, you're sitting at a desk with a ton of resources, with people that really care about you, that are willing to put on those boots with you and go to war. And not literally like you, because you really did that. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of just a lot of support there, and that they need you more than you need them.
For sure.
And I really believed that at my time at Cars was we were really doing something special. And if clients and dealerships around the country weren't taking advantage of being able to work and be consulted by these wonderful people that I had the opportunity to coach and build, they were doing themselves a disservice.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I want to reiterate, especially to the audience, especially with your story, is that not everything has to be a forever story or a forever chapter. We're here for 70 to 80 years, fingers crossed, and time's precious. So the fact that you've experienced several different jobs, opportunities, ventures, relationships, which all led to a more fulfilling and enjoyable career in life, is fantastic to see. And there's a lot of exciting things that you do at Jeff Hamilton, which I kind of want to get into, some of like the fun stuff. But for the folks that maybe aren't familiar yet with what exactly Jeff Hamilton does, can you give me like a 30,000-foot view of what the company does?
Yeah, so we work within NBA, NFL, sports in general, music artists, to just create pieces of art that people get to wear. People come to us because they have an idea of something unique, exclusive, that you really just can't get developed anywhere else. And for us to help bring like some of those great ideas to fruition, it's now a piece of art that you get to throw on your back.
Yeah.
Whether that's retail, whether that's a one-on-one, we do it all.
So leather jackets is kind of your main staple, right? Are there any other adjacent products?
Leather jackets, vegan leather jackets, get into hoodies, hats.
Okay.
We've been building some really good relationships with New Era, et cetera. And a lot of collaborations too on shirts. We just did a really great collab with Bape for Complex Con. But yeah, we love collaborating and just creating. And I think that's the thing we do the best, is we love to round table. And I tell people when a team comes to me, they'll say, "Oh, we trust you. Just do your thing." I'm like, I don't want to work with you. No, like this is going to be a true collaborative effort.
Right.
I want it. You're going to know your market and your clientele, your fan base better than I ever will.
For sure.
So I make that very clear at the beginning. We're not just in the business to take some assets and some designs and go to work. Like we like to truly sit down and be deliberate in what we're doing.
It's like, why do you want this logo? Like, why do you want to incorporate this idea? Oh, it's because it ties into the rich city history and this era and stuff. I mean, those pieces tie the emotion to it, which makes it more valuable, and people want to like hang on to that longer.
Yeah. And with that is, okay, how do we tell that story even more? And I think that's what makes our product so unique is we have the opportunity to add more color to something with Jeff has his signature plaque on the inside of every jacket that spells out what it's for, what it commemorates. And we've also started telling stories on the back lining of the jacket too.
Neat.
So, we like to bring all these really cool little unique details together to tell a story.
That's super cool. What's one of the most like unforgettable experiences with a celebrity or rap star that you've had that maybe not everybody would know about?
There's so many. I think one of the coolest ones I had, or probably just one of the most unexpected cool experiences, was I was in LA to gift a jacket to Metro Boomin. And backstage at CBS Studios, having a great time, just hanging out with different people. Offset pulls up with his crew. Offset's phenomenal, really good guy. All of a sudden, I see a golf cart pull up, and it's Post Malone. And I had no idea he was coming. It turns out he was going to be a surprise guest for this broadcast they were doing with Metro Boomin. And what was really cool about Post is they started, they were just hanging out, and I'm just kind of like walking over, and he actually turned to me first and says, "Hey, how are you doing? I'm Austin." And I go, Mr. Post, how's it going? And, explain I'm with Jeff, and just the nicest guy ever. And we just hung out for a while before he hit the stage. So that was really cool. When people ask me who's probably the nicest, it's probably him. Like genuinely, just a very nice, humble guy. One of my probably favorite, more recent experiences was we created a jacket for Little Dirk for his birthday show at the United Center. So for me to be home, United Center, which is my second home, go Bulls, to be able to present a special birthday gift commemorating the show was really cool. And I didn't really know what to expect. I had never met Dirk. So after the show, I have security bringing me backstage and some of the staff from the United Center. And we go into the dressing room. He's in there. Sexy Red's in there hanging out. Everybody's having a good time. And I introduce myself, and I show him the jacket. Now, what we did on the jacket is we put a commemorative plate on the inside that showed the dates of every show he's done at the United Center.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I don't even think he realized how many shows there were. So when I showed him that plaque, his face just like lit up and this big smile. And you see it in the photos when he's looking at the plaque and is just smiling, grinning ear to ear. And he calls his guys over. He's like, "Look at this." And they're going through each date. And just seeing how welcoming and cool and appreciative somebody like that is basically has everything, where just a moment, just seeing like how appreciative. Most artists are very appreciative of what we provide, but like that was really special.
Yeah, the fact that this role that you have opens the doors not only to being introduced to these high-profile people, but the fact that you get to see like an inside look as to more so who they are as a person, as opposed to them kind of being like having a front, or they're on a stage, or they have to like, they're just signing autographs, or they're like wearing the smile for the fans. But like you get to see them with their hair down a little bit, which is such a unique experience that I don't think a lot of us will ever get to have.
And Jeff is such a legend in the game, and people have so much respect for him. So I'm lucky enough that being associated with that, the wall kind of comes down and people are very comfortable.
Was Jeff Hamilton always sports, or was it sports and hip hop and different like industries?
He started with really just men's fashion initially in the 80s, a part of some pretty prominent brands, and then really brought the jacket business to the next level within the NBA. And then it just kind of grew from there, where it was NBA, it was NFL, it was MLB, it was Looney Tunes. It was, so the 90s, he kind of touched every industry for sure. I mean, the demand from all the different brands and the different trademarks and the different creative outlets that just wanted to collaborate with him, it was pretty vast.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So we've mentioned about kind of a little bit on your sneaker collecting and your love for the Bulls, but I don't think people realize, the people that don't know you, how big of a Bulls and sneakerhead you are. Where did this passion for sports and the Bulls come from?
Passion for sports definitely came during the dynasty. And I'm just happy I was old enough to remember it and witness it. And some of my favorite memories were just sitting in my living room floor with the game on, especially 96, 97, 98, because that's when I was really able to really lock in and appreciate the sport. And I would be sitting there and just anticipation of the Bulls winning. And my mom would go out and get me poster board, and I would basically create these posters of Bulls win, championship. I would draw the Bulls head, and when the Bulls would win, I'd put it in the front window of the house.
Awesome.
So how can you not, growing up in the best time in sports, just get hooked? So as a child, to be able to experience that, and I was blessed where my parents would take me afterwards to go get some shirts, championship shirts, and I would go to the store and get the Rodmans, and the Jordans didn't come yet as a kid. My parents love them to death, but they're like, hey, we're not spending that on.
Well, especially when a growing boy, your feet are getting bigger and bigger every year too. So it's like, wait till you're kind of at your peak, and then maybe we'll start talking about shoes, or you don't have to keep buying new sizes every year.
So thank you, Mr. Dennis Rodman, for having your shoes in JCPenney at the time, because I was able to get those, the Fila Grant Hills, British Knights. But growing up too in private school at the time, our uniform was like lugs and Dickies. So like we kind of pushed the limits a little bit of what we could instead of dress shoes and dress pants, So we lived at Lincoln Mall in Matson, Illinois quite a bit. And that's where the passion kind of started growing more and more for shoes. And my grandmother one day, I believe we were at Chicago Ridge Mall, if I'm not mistaken, and we walked into Champs, and there were, I believe it was Champs, and there were Jordan 14 Ginger Lows, which most people would be like, Ginger Lows? Like now, I mean, to get a new pair of those is like $600-700, like from back then. Like people appreciate them now, but back then, it was just a very odd colorway. Everybody wanted the black and red or the white and blue, and I'm like, nah, those are it. Yeah. And she's like, you want them? I'm like, yeah, I would love those actually. And so we go to the cash register, and my grandmother, God bless her heart, was very used to Payless prices. So I think she thought they were $15 at $150. So that was, we had to have a little bit of a conversation when they rang up, but she spoiled me. So
you gotta love family.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite set of sneakers that you have in your collection right now?
I'll be honest. I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's people ask me what my favorites are, and honestly, I could get rid of my entire collection, which I would hate, and it would break my heart. Yeah. As if I had all my original OG 1985s. I'm good.
So
I'm good.
I've seen some of your posts recently, because you have such a great collection. People have used some of your shoes for like either museum pieces or like display cases. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. Especially when people hear that I have 1985s, They want to use them for things related to 1985. So for the most recent release of the Jordan 1 Bread band, which was very limited, and Success, shout out to Success, all my homies over there. They were honored to be one of the few stores to be one of the boutique locations for the release of the shoes. So Jordan Brand came in and just did a full-blown build-out all around just the Jordan 1 Bread.
Wow.
And so when you walked in to the shop to get your shoes or just experience the activation, the first thing you saw were my shoes, my original 1985 Breads, Black Reds, sitting in a case next to the letter that Jordan was sent saying, like, you can no longer wear these. You know, so that was a really cool activation. There's been other things around the city and where people have asked to just have different things on display, because I have certain 85s. I have a pair of 1985 Chicago signed by Michael, a pair of 1985 Blue Metallics signed by Michael. Just, you know, some things you don't see every day. I actually wear my 85s.
There we go. See, we talk about watches on the podcast sometimes, and, you know, there's people that collect things and have them sit in the safe, but, you know,
these are OG laces too, by the way. Those are OG.
If you're gonna buy something, collect something, you got to wear it a little bit at least.
Yeah, and people always ask, "Oh, you're crazy! Like, how do you wear those?" And people have this assumption or notion that all the older Jordans crumble, and like, no, 85s are built like tanks.
Hell yeah,
rubber sole, full grain leather.
I mean, how are you gonna hoop in shoes if they're gonna fall apart, right? I mean, that's classic Nike. If you've seen the movie, I mean, them going through that whole R&D process to build a shoe that lasts and
and you know, and once you got into the Jordan 2 and the Jordan 3 and they started using more polyurethane, like, over years that's going to start crumble and disintegrating. But no, the Jordan 1, the OG, tanks. Don't be scared to wear them.
I love that. All right, so let's jump into the new organization, Soho. You're doing some stuff with them. How'd you get connected with Soho, and why them? Like, what's happening over there?
Yeah, we started having a conversation. I was considering joining. It had been a while, and I've been a part of other clubs such as the University Club and the Mid-America and the Buckingham, and some of these clubs that were a little bit more traditional, old school, dress up, you know, not necessarily tie, but, you know, somebody that was working in tech and now creative fields. It doesn't really work for me. So the fact that Soho is very welcoming to people just coming as they are. If you're wearing a hat, if you're wearing a Harley tee, like, we don't care. So that was very intriguing with me, and I was able to meet director of membership and assistant general manager, and we just started having like some conversations. And once they realized that I worked in the field I did with Jeff and creativity, that's something they want to continue to grow. Is just bringing more creatives to the table and being a part of the club. And they had brought up, you know what, we have an idea. Instead of you just becoming a member, we have this committee board of people that just drive the goals and the growth of the club. I'm like, like, let's sit down, let's talk about that more. And so we had a whole discussion on what that could look like and what that could mean to the club, just by, again, me, I'm just very organic with people. And if I see an opportunity to say, hey, this is something that's going to be very valuable to you personally for growth or to your business, I'll present it in a way to where just come check it out. And if it's for you and it feels right. So I think they agreed, like, that, you know, you being a creative and working with so many different fields and brands, they thought it was a great fit to join the committee.
So what's on the docket? Like, what are you trying to instill in the new version of Soho downtown?
I think...
Or what are you allowed to talk about at this point?
No, I mean, the biggest thing, some of the biggest focuses right now are they want to continue to really grow health and the importance of health and being healthy. And so looking on some creative ways to just expand on that. And again, really just bringing more creatives to the club to experience it, to network, to be able to work together, collaborate, because that's really how a lot of time business grows, is you never know. Some of the best collaborations that I've had the opportunity to work on or work with people on,
Yeah.
or even just help them with my connections, was just sitting at the same table with like-minded people, you know, and to bring more of that into the club, I think it's important. I think whether you're a jeweler, whether you work with the music industry, whether you're in design, whether you're in graphic design, like all those things can work together.
Yeah, I mean, Soho has the facilities, right? I mean, they've got plenty of space for hanging out, co-working, working out, restaurant, bar, etc. They have the space. But as you said, bringing in the collabs and kind of bringing in fresh ideas, new people, new faces, where it doesn't just become like, oh, this is the place where we go get hammered after work. Like it's more of a value add. There's a reason to join the club because you never know who you're going to run into when you show up at the Soho House. You never know what kind of events they're going to be throwing that could change your trajectory. So I think that's very important that they have you in this role, is because, as we talked about earlier, you bring that new energy and those good ideas, and it sounds like they're a great partner that are willing to not only listen to feedback but also implement some new things so that everyone can grow.
For sure. Again, a lot of autonomy and just ideas. And one of the things I want to kind of take it a step further is individuals like Jeff, individuals like Don C., panels, having discussions, bringing in these people that have already been where a lot of people want to go, and being able to learn from them, just take some nuggets of wisdom from them and start doing more things like that, you know?
Because, I mean, Soho has such a strong brand already, you know, across the nation, if not the world. That's not their issue. But if, like, let's say I become a member and I hear that Jeff Hamilton's going to be holding a panel at Soho Chicago, I mean, there's only a certain amount of people that can show up to that. So you're getting a more intimate experience that you might not be able to get anywhere else, which funnels into the exclusivity of the organization, which is driving memberships and sales, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's where, you know, these clubs, and I've been a part of clubs where it's great to have the amenities. Today, how am I growing from this?
Yeah.
Is it fruitful? Am I aligning with the right type of other individuals and like-minded people? And how are you providing some additional opportunities for me to grow and network? And that's really important because there's only so many delicious burgers you can eat at a club to where it's like, where's the fulfillment?
Yeah, I mean, you've got all these new high-rises in West Loop and Old Town and stuff that have amenities, right? They've got the pools, the gyms, the workout areas and restaurants and stuff. But I see this in other clubs in Chicago, like the cigar lounges and whatnot, where it's really the type of people that drive members to stay at the organization. So if the people that I'm looking to connect with are members and are conglomerating there, I'm going to stay there. But if for some reason the organization starts losing their drive to provide for these people and members start falling off, like, I want to be with the people. The people is number one. It's the amenities that are secondary to the membership.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're doing a really good job of that. And Kaylin over there at Soho House, who I'm having the opportunity to start working with, it was very forward thinking and like, how do we just continue to grow value? So it's, I think a lot of really cool things coming down the pipeline for Soho.
I'm super excited to see what comes out in 2025 because Soho, great pickup. You got some real talent over here.
I appreciate that. I didn't say it. He said it.
All right, let's jump into your hometown a little bit because you and I have had several cigar networking events down in Blue Islands. You have a very tight-knit circle down there. You're doing amazing things. And I want the people to hear and see all of the things that you love about your hometown of Blue Island as well. So you recently jumped on the board, or I guess the town organization. What's your current title down there?
Director of Community Development.
Okay. And what are your major objectives right now with that role?
Major objectives is to continue to grow offerings within the city, restaurants, different concepts, different types of businesses in general, programs, just continue to bring a lot of value to the community, whatever way that is. So for the way this whole came about is I'm born and raised Blue Island. I was born at St. Francis. My wife and I live in the house that I grew up in. Very proud of that.
Yep.
And I'm in the house I grew up in. My parents are in the house my mom grew up in Mount Greenwood. My great aunt is in the house that she's been in since 1925.
Oh, wow.
I did not stutter. 1925.
That's 100 years, right?
Yeah, she's about to be 102, July 1st.
Good Lord.
And so it's kind of a family thing, but the mayor of Blue Island, Fred, phenomenal guy. I've known him for years. He was my alderman. And I had been on the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals for about 7 to 8 years, just helping move along planning, zoning, helping new businesses come in, do all the kosher pieces that have to happen in order to come do business in Blue Island.
Yeah.
And I saw there was an opportunity there with community development. So Fred and I started having a conversation about it. I'm like, man, I would love to do this, and just figuring out like how it would fit. And there was no way I was not going to take the opportunity to help grow and bring some additional value to my hometown.
Yeah.
I love the community there, phenomenal neighbors, phenomenal administration. And yeah, so I've been charged with just the continued growth and development of my hometown.
I couldn't think of a more perfect fit for you in that organization, because as we discussed over the last hour, you've been doing this for many multiple company organizations and different markets, whether it was Oklahoma, Chicago, sports teams, personal brands, meeting people. I mean, this, in my opinion, is the perfect match for a city which you have history in and you love, and your expertise. So, I've been watching you kind of wheel and deal behind the scenes, putting in a diverse group of restaurants, things to do, value add for business owners. I mean, you're really adding so much value, which is not only going to grow the community as like a tax revenue standpoint or like an organization, but the people, right? It all comes back to the people. It's like, do you want to know your neighbors? Do you want to hang out with your neighbors? Do you want to be involved with making the park more beautiful or giving kids things to do outside of school? All of these things leave a legacy, and I think you're just killing it right now.
Yeah, and it's been, it's only been going on 7 months with that seat, but in those 7 months, it's been extremely fulfilling, and being able to tap into my relationships and network within sports, too. Because, and I'll tell you a quick story. Wintrust Bank is actually going to be coming into Blue Island, so we've been having meetings, sit downs on groundbreaking and what this could look like and when. And the vice president for the region, we got to talking, and he was very intrigued too with my background working with Jeff and sports in general. And somehow the Chicago Fire came up, and it turned out that his son was going to be doing a camp with my friend Kellen, midfielder for Chicago Fire, who is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I know Kellen. So I put them in a group chat, and just saying, hey, Kellen, just giving you a heads up, this is my friend Matt with Wintrust, and his son's actually going to be doing your camp this weekend. So they got to connect, and now Wintrust and I are now figuring out ways, how do they get more involved in the community even before they break ground, before they open. And I started bringing up, why don't we partner with Kellen and the Chicago Fire, and we bring these really cool, whether it's a camp or a program or whatever, to the community, because we have such a strong community of youth and adults that play and love soccer.
Yeah.
So, that all this started coming to fruition just in the last couple of weeks. And I'm always throwing out ideas there too, how we can get some of the other teams that I've worked with in the community more involved, because there's such a big fan base there.
Yeah. Lot of work to do yet in the community, but you're on the right path. And again, I'm excited to see what transpires in 2025.
I appreciate that.
Very exciting stuff.
Well, and hey, when you got phenomenal people too that have really invested a lot in a community like Dave Brown, who you and I are become both really good friends with.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it fun. It makes it a little easier. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to work with people that you enjoy and are on the, you know, like you said, same page, same brainwave.
Yeah.
You can do exponentially more with the right people.
100%.
So we're getting towards the end of the episode. I got a couple fun questions that we usually like to hit on. So downtown Chicago, when you're in the city or you're taking out a client or something, do you have any favorite restaurants or bars you like to go to?
Sunda.
Yeah.
Sunda's been home for, man, probably like 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I shout out to my friend Matt. When I originally came back home to work for the Sky, he's like, we're going to this restaurant that my buddy works at. And I got, man, from first taste, I was hooked. And it got to the point where there was some weekends where I was there, no joke, like 3-4 times.
Really?
Yeah. And everybody I've brought hooked. Give you a perfect example. My buddy Justin, he had his bachelor party this past weekend, and we had dinner at Carnival. But I'm like, guys, because like the discussion of sushi came up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got one. I know where the best roll you're ever going to have, or the best piece of sushi you're ever going to have in your life is. Brought the whole before going to Punch Bowl Social.
Oh man.
I call up my boy Jared. I'm like, yo, I need a spot to bring like 10 guys, and all I need is the Great White.
Yep.
And he's like, all right.
Sold.
So shout out Billy Deck, Mike Morales, the brother. Love that guy.
Yeah.
Sunda, phenomenal. If you haven't been yet, you are missing out. I love historical places. I'm a huge fan of Hirikiri's on Kinsey.
Mm-hmm.
One, extremely underrated. Probably one of the best ribeyes you can get in the city. They're some of the top meat in the city. My good friend Tweed, he's worked there probably about 18 years.
Oh, that's
at
where
least.
Tweed works?
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's where I originally met Tweed before I met him at Rock Island Public House, because my first time ever at Rock Island Public House, Tweed was behind the bar, and I went up to Dave and I go, is that the gentleman that works at Hirikiri's? He's like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is he doing down here? So I love places with a story, especially like that, where one, the service is impeccable.
Yeah.
And it was owned by Frank Nitti, Al Capone's right-hand man, the treasurer of the Chicago outfit, Al Capone's bodyguard. Like, it doesn't get much cooler than that.
Yeah.
Than going down and seeing the safe and all the underground tunnels.
It's funny you bring up that historic Chicago stuff, because I was with our episode 5 guest, Dominic Irpino. I was with him yesterday on a video shoot over at Gina Giorgetti's, and they took me upstairs, and then they took us in this party room in the back, which is called like the card room.
Yeah.
And just like these little kind of secret, not so secret rooms and nooks and crannies of these very historic Chicago establishments, I mean, are so intimate. And like, unless you kind of know some of these people to like show you, I mean, half the time you're probably just walking in the front door, getting seated at a table in the first floor, and then like that's your experience. But to get to know some of these other like very intimate and very Chicago-esque environments is super cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, and I'm all about stories. And when friends are visiting or people are in from out of town, it's cool to be able to sit there, have a meal, and be like, hey, did you know?
Yeah.
And be able to take them to a secret room, or just Chicago's just got such a rich, cool, unique history. So, you know, I'm always seeking that out.
Absolutely. This is why I love this podcast, because I'm a huge Chicago fan, and I get to hear stories of, you know, people that have had experiences in all these different places that maybe I haven't been to. So it's like every guest is like a learning experience for me too.
Yeah.
Last 2 questions for you before we go. Who would you think would be a great guest for the Scorpion Nest podcast?
Great question. Jeff Hamilton. I think we need to make that happen soon for sure.
Whenever he's in town next, you know, let's get him in the room. I was blessed to have a cigar with him last time he was in town for your 40th, and
Yeah.
even that was a unique experience. So I'd love to be able to pick his brain on camera and share some of those stories for other people as well.
Most interesting man in the world.
Yeah, I
sure.
co-sign that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and for the viewers and listeners out there that would love to follow you, where can they find you on the internet?
Instagram is probably the best way to find me. AJ in Chicago.
Okay,
Yeah.
easy enough.
Hit me up. And I love meeting new people, having conversations. So
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get another episode down the line, but this went by very fast, and I appreciate you carving out some time for the Scorpion Nest out of your busy schedule.
I'm just hanging out with a friend.
Alrighty, we'll catch you
appreciate
guys
it.
soon.